Happy Wednesday. 20 years ago today, folks, let me jump right into it. 20 years ago today, something I think culturally that changed the landscape of so many things in this country took place. It was something kind of innocuous. You would think, oh, it's not a big deal. But it is hard to argue against the fact that 20 years ago, a video that was uploaded to YouTube, some of which you're watching me right now, make sure you like and subscribe, would go on and change everything. Change the way we view things, change the way entertainment is viewed, change the way that your neighbor can be a millionaire for some bizarre character they create or who knows what. It is awesome. It has changed so much. So 20 years ago on this day.
All right, so here we are in front of the elephants. And cool thing about these guys is that they have really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
It's pretty much it. It's pretty much all there is to say. Nothing more. That's it. That right there is Joeed Karim, who was one of the co-founders of YouTube. And YouTube went essentially live 20 years ago today. And it changed so much of what it is that we do, how we consume media. The cultural change that has come from YouTube is tremendous. The influence it has. It is hard to argue that over the last several election cycles, that social media itself hasn't had a big influence. It's had a massive influence, but it's hard to argue that you can point to Joe Rogan, Donald Trump doing an interview, which was seen on YouTube, and how one person, Kamala, decided not to do an interview, and how that changed a whole bunch. Maybe put some people over the edge. The cultural reach of YouTube globally is insane. The fact that there is people say, what's the most viewed video? It's a damn video about a baby shark. That's all I'm going to say. I could baby shark. You know what I'm talking about. 15 billion, by the way, views. That's a lot of freaking views. Second biggest search engine in the world. A vast majority of kids, adults, even boomers watch it on their phone. Average person turns it on, watches about 30 minutes at a time. The cultural impact of YouTube is tremendous. And yes, it's given us all the misinformation, we can sit here and debate and play that game all day long, but it's also given us a lot of other things, fun stuff. Let's be real. There's been some wacky stuff. Stuff that, as I try to explain to my kids, when I was a kid growing up, if I wanted to watch a video, I had to wait till maybe the video was played on MTV. Oh, that's how old I am. 32. Music. I mean, you can go on and on. It has created millionaires, billionaires. It has changed so much. It has influenced. And yes, there was MySpace. And then there was, of course, Friendster. Let's not forget that. Then there came Facebook. And there's been stuff, but nothing like YouTube ever. And the impact that YouTube has had is incredible. It absolutely is. And it is interesting as I talk to people today, and we were reliving some of the, Antoine Dotson and how'd your kids, how'd your wife, and Sweet Brown. I ain't got no time for that kind of stuff. Those are things that, people kind of became, we were joking about D's nuts. Those kind of things that were sitting here and they became part of our culture. It wasn't just politics. It was a lot of other things. And I live in a world of politics. And in one of my shows today, I'll be honest, because I do a lot of shows, we didn't talk anything about politics. In 3 hours, I don't think we ever mentioned immigration. I don't think we ever mentioned Donald Trump, really. I don't think we ever mentioned any. And it was great having the phone lines, the text lines light up and people texting at us and chatting with us over the cultural impact, even if it wasn't the political impact that this had, the reach that it has. It is awesome. You sitting here tonight, right? You could be watching this, and within 6 months or a year, you could have said, hey, I'm going to try to be a creator, because there wasn't creators originally. Right? There was no such thing as a creator. It was just somebody getting on there. Remember the Alan Beale dancing baby and stuff? Somebody getting on there and goofing around, and the next thing you know, you've built up something and you don't even know what the hell's going on. Not everybody can be Mr. Beast, but can you be Charlie? Charlie bit me. Remember that? Yes, and the politics has played a role in it too. It has been in the ever-changing landscape, especially over the last, say, 3, 4, 5 years of media. This has given rise to media organizations that are booming. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to sit down with Chris Ruddy, who's the CEO of Newsmax, and we're going to have a chat about the IPO and all this kind of stuff. But it started out as a digital platform. Then it became a platform for regular cable. This is a place where anybody, the democratization of entertainment, of news and everything happens here. And it is incredible. The way that we consume not just goofy stuff, wacky stuff, even political stuff, church. The way that we consume not just entertainment, but education, throw an othery in there, has been huge. Because you can go on here, and when I talked a bit about this earlier during one of my radio shows, the amount of people that said, oh my God, my son did this, or my kid did that, or we did this, and you should, learn how to do this on there. How many of you who are probably hanging out watching tonight, you're going to send me a message or something? Go, you know what? I get my recipes off here, or I learned how to fix this off here. This thing saved me. That's the impact it had on top of everything else. And it's been awesome. It has been. And it's the constant need for more is growing. I was reading a great article earlier today that, it's got like 1 trillion hours of stuff, and they want more. And we're going to give it to them. No doubt about that. We move on from there. We will talk a little politics tonight. How's it going, Jones Jack out there? Hope all is well with you. It's very interesting. Somebody just said, I like watching old videos of commercials from the 80s and 90s. It is. I mean, that nostalgia. It takes you back to a time. I was just watching as I'm getting ready and prepping for this and prepping for my shows in the morning, a great interview with the Professor of Rock. And if you guys ever seen him, check him out and you'd like and subscribe. He does great stuff. But he was talking to Rupert Holmes, Pina Colada. Escape, the Pina Colada song. And it was great to, you're like, that takes you back. It's those things on this platform are amazing. But yes, I did, get ready for this. Want to talk a little politics. And one of the things that is interesting, it's not political in the necessary, like immigration and stuff like that, because that is exhausting at times. It is repetitive. The reality is when it comes to like Kilmar and Abrego, the Democrats are doing something ridiculous by flailing, trying to make somebody some sort of martyr that in reality, this is probably not the guy you want to attach yourself to. And, but knock yourself out if that's what you feel you need to do, because you're probably not getting him back. And if you do get him back, and I was telling somebody today during my first show, we were chatting, and I said, the funny thing is, they could fight to get him here. Right. So go through all of this stuff, and we're not leaving El Salvador till we get him, and, fine, whatever, take him back, give him his due process. He could literally land at the airport, be taken off the airport by ICE officials, escorted to a facility, be held there, meet with his attorneys, of which he's got a flock of them now, then go before a judge, and a judge could go, yeah, well, you're going to be deported. And then they could send him off to Honduras or Guatemala or wherever like that. So he could be, then what? Are you going to go there and go, no? So that's the hilarity of the politics of the day. But yesterday, Jordan Peterson on with Joe Rogan, and they started talking about the woke right, which is not really, what is the woke right? What isn't the woke right? Because it's out there. And it was very fascinating listening to him. And the right is, and I've said this, winning an election, especially an election where you had a guy that, was, made Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's look like he was about ready to go be Usain Bolt. But the hardest thing to do is to govern when you have that power. And it's not just Trump, it's the Republicans themselves. And it's also the people out there that are influencers, and watching people try to cancel each other, fight with each other, use the power that the quote unquote the right has got and destroy each other is fascinating. And it's sad. And it's sad because people, I like to hold them all accountable, right or left. And in today's world, nobody wants that, who have a platform or a voice, that the being loud and saying crazy things, that people like that. But the exhaustive majority, which I think most of us are, we want people held accountable. Like, I want Trump to succeed. I wanted Biden to succeed because he's my president. I don't want a president to fail. And if you do want a president to fail, that's the most asinine thing on the planet. But he started talking about, the psychopaths essentially out there who hijack stuff for their benefit. And I see it happening in the right side of the aisle, in the red-pilled world.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well,
without a doubt.
That's a terrible thing because the psychopathic types, they're always the death of everything. Like, I'm seeing this come up on the right now. So imagine this. I've been working on a new theory of political psychopathology, and I like it quite a lot.
Is this where the term the woke right comes in?
Yeah, well, Lindsay is pointing at that, but he hasn't got the diagnosis exactly right. So it isn't woke. That's not the issue. It's not exactly.
I think
one
what
level.
they're talking about is like similar types of behavior.
He is talking about that. Yeah, no.
But
What he's pointing.
Woke just lets you clarify in your head. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, but the problem is
it's like Antifa.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that argument is predicated on the claim that the ideas are the problem, like the woke ideas, for example, on the right or the left. But that's not the problem. The problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits, they're Machiavellian, they're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is, and they adopt those ideas, and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right? As they proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They invade the idea space, and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more particularly, because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing and waving your flags, but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit?
And that is important. And that's where calling people out on your side is important. That is where calling balls and strikes is important. That is where being able to look at somebody and go, bullshit. Bullshit. That is important. And I do it. I call it out. Am I thrilled by everything that Trump does? No. Do I think that some of his stuff that he has done, he's gotten wrong? Absolutely. Can I say that? Yeah, I can, and I will. At the same time, if he does something great, I'm going to say that's damn good. Good for him. Let's do this. But you're listening to him there, it's also about tribes. It's the people that take advantage of this, they're building a tribe to run. They're not wanting to be part of the tribe, if that makes sense. It's like I always tell everybody, people who create communism, people who create, the socialism that we think about way in the past, not the pretend socialism that they don't really have in Sweden and in Scandinavia, but those people create it to live above it, not in it. And I find a lot of the same thing here, the people who take advantage of certain things, like with their, hey, I'm going to red pill myself. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to champion. I'm going to build a movement. And I'm going to get a tribe of people around me. And it pisses me off because I see a lot of people get taken advantage of. And, in my local show, I get it every day when, like yesterday, I talked a bit about Pete Hegseth. And watching people attack me, which, was kind of hilarious. But it's a tribal thing. It's like they're like piranha, right? They're angry. And trying to explain to him, no, this is what you have to do. This guy feels like he's not just in over his head. Anybody who's blowing his friends out like this, the way he is, and blaming them for stuff, and they have no idea why they got fired. They're being told they're leakers. And if you can't call people to the floor, that is crazy. And if you're not willing to hold your own accountable, again, another crazy thing that doesn't help us. So not only do you have people out there who have those tendencies, the Machiavellian, the psychopaths, who are dressing up and LARPing in certain areas because it benefits them. They're building with them a certain amount of tribal unity amongst people that they want to have them follow them. And they do it in such a way as they have an iron fist. And I don't think that's good for a lot of things. And I've been saying since the hardest thing since Trump got elected, this is all on the Republicans now to govern right and to hold each other accountable. The left didn't do it. And the right, you better figure it out because you will pay at the ballot box. We are an easily swayed and fickle nation in the middle. And we're not afraid to cut bait rather than fish if we don't think things are going this way. And I want to see how this plays itself out. But there's got to be some accountability held. And I think Jordan Peterson was spot on in this. It's interesting to see because I'll get comments tomorrow. People, oh, you're an idiot. You hate Trump. That's the other thing, man. The minute you say, well, you know what? I wasn't a fan of that. Well, that's because you hate him. You're like, really? Is that where we're going with this? It's the all or nothing world. I don't live in that world. Try living that way with, say, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, whatever. Find out how that works out for you. By the way, we were talking about commercials earlier because of the 20th anniversary of YouTube, and I told Ultimate Sim Gamer and everybody else, go look up a commercial called Butt Drugs. It's an actual commercial. The name of the pharmacy it was like the Butt Family. And somebody said, that's hilarious. Because I told him, you will thank me for it because it is both creepy. The people look like they're in some sort of cult. And at the same thing, the songs and stuff about butt drugs is hilarious. And finally tonight, Sunny Hostin, speaking of a cult, from The View, talking about the babies, $5,000 per baby. No, not per baby. I don't know how many dollars you're going to get for baby, but I had a really interesting conversation today with a young woman I work with. It's weird to say she's like 28, but like a young woman.
When I look at something like this, these proposals, I want to know why, and I want to know who's making them. And so when I looked into that, they're saying that the U.S. birth rate is declining. However, in 2024, there was a 1% increase in U.S. births. But that increase was with Hispanic mothers and Asian mothers. So they don't seem to be concerned about that increase. They seem to be more concerned about a decrease in other populations.
Say it.
No, I think I said enough.
It's not based on that.
And so, well, it's just based on a study. And so the other thing
but have they said that anywhere? I mean, I feel like it has to be fair.
It's just fair to who? It's just a.
Have they said that this is to target only white families?
Oh, I didn't say that.
You
have
to read between the lines.
I just gave the stats.
Yeah, but it's about economics. They're wanting people to pay in.
I'm just giving.
So, of course, it's got to always be about race. So, Sunny Hostin, of course, it's got to be about race. It's only because, we need more white people. Well, let's just break this down. Because I brought this up briefly today. Because I'm not quite sure. Because it feels like every once in a while, it's just like sometimes Trump goes, this seems like a good idea. He throws it out there. And next thing you know, it's the front page of everything. And the media is like, we have been declining. If it wasn't for immigration, both legal and illegal, and births by people who have come here legally and illegally, the birth rate would be down tremendously. And if you want to talk about how your nation eventually becomes nothing more than an afterthought, it's not because of AI or because the middle class disappeared. It's birth rates. By the end of this century, China will lose almost 1 billion people. Japan, South Korea, their birth rates are cratering. Hungary is offering tax-free for women. But it's not just about, it's a Black, Hispanic. I know. Let's talk about this for a second. Young women in this country aren't having children. Young women. For the first time ever, women in their 30s and 40s are having more babies than women in their 20s. You are not going to have a sustainable society if you do not get the birth rates up. And it is frustrating for some people to hear out there. They get like, the beauty of our country is, and the reason that we stay semi-steady comparatively to a lot of other places, is because people want to come here. People want to come to our country. People want to be Americans. People want to give birth here. That is a big deal. Now, you may not like that. Some people might, but it helps. It does. And the other side of this is, if you really want to help, if this is a serious proposal, then you say 12 weeks paid, government will cover the cost. We're also going to cover the cost of your child's birth. Give people $5,000. So I'm talking to a young woman today. Great lady. She works with me locally here. And she's like 28, 29. And she said, what's $5,000? It breaks down to like $1,369 a day. She goes, what am I going to do with that? I don't have time off from work. I don't have the cost of having a baby is ridiculous. The being, I can take some time off of work, but on my own dime, childcare. Young people that do want to have kids are terrified to have kids. Not about the color of the skin. How do we incentivize people, younger people in particular? And I'm not talking about 15-year-olds. I'm talking about 25-year-olds to get into, hey, let's have a family. Let's build something because it's great for our society. We don't want to become what Greece became, which was a financial disaster. And part of that was the way that they did their retirement. But also, we need about 8 to 12 people, ideally, to 15 would be great, to make sure that they're covering the cost of everything, including the people that are no longer working. You know what doesn't work? Lots of old people retired, no replenishing the workforce, and no taxes. The burden on what's left will be so much. It'll be top heavy and tip. Incentivization sounds great. Is this the way to do it? I don't think so. But it's not always about race, ma'am. Not everything's about race. You make it about that because, well, you make a living off that. That's your job. Your job isn't to go on there and talk about what the latest fashions are or whatever the housefrows talk about on that show. Your job is to go on there and to stir up the wasp and hornet's nest to get people ginned up to hate Trump. The reality is we do need to start growing from the bottom down. And I'm not talking about poverty level, income. I'm talking about age-wise. We can't have children becoming young adults, becoming middle-aged adults, and then going, okay, I think I'm okay to have a child now. And all of a sudden, you're 35 or 40. And you look around and you're like, oh, why are people my age having kids in the younger generation? It is not going to be healthy for our society. So there are ways I think we could do this that would be very interesting and a way to take a look if we're serious about it. But how serious is he? I don't know. And it's not about color. That is the most bullshit, ridiculous thing to spin. And I get it. It sounds great. Easy. I always tell everybody, how easy it would be for me to just wake up in the morning, find the most ridiculous bullshit, throw things out there, crazy, get people riled up thing. You know how easy that is? It's the easiest thing in the world to do. I see it on the right and the left. And it's frustrating because I'm like, have a conversation for real. Talk about some stuff that, really, no, it's just easier to sensationalize. And I don't want to do that here. Solid, fun, enjoyed hanging out tonight. Back at it tomorrow night. Find me at Chad Benson Show. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe and share. Check out our Facebook, check out our Twitter and all the other things. But on top of that, our shows live again early tomorrow, 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon on the East Coast. Go to chadbensonshow.com. Check out all of our merch and all that kind of fun stuff as well. And see where you can catch the podcast if you miss it. You guys have a blessed and awesome rest of the night. And I'll see you mañana.